Knowledge is power. Make an impact by learning more. Call us right now for more help at 866-945-8070. Use Airtable to track your app ecosystem. I get it all the time. I read it all the time on Facebook and elsewhere. People struggling. The struggle is real. With how to figure out what apps to use and for what purpose, and there's all these apps, and how do I possibly choose one, and there's just complete overwhelm. And I can share with you that I have exposed myself to probably hundreds of apps, and I'm not overwhelmed. And I think part of it is because, and I mentioned this in the write-up, we're going about it the wrong way in many cases, right? Or those who are overwhelmed are probably doing it this way. You're looking at all the apps and trying to decipher from within this world of many, many applications which apps you want to use and then for which purpose. And that's backwards. You have to recognize the need first, then go search out the app that fills the need. And I think when you approach it from that perspective, it's maybe from some people's points of view, it may be a subtle difference, but it's an impactful difference. It makes all the difference between being overwhelmed and not. So in the write-up, I started giving you some use cases for how you might look at a need that needs to be filled. Do I need an accounting app? Sure, let's use QuickBooks Online. Do I need a CRM? Sure, let's use Nimble CRM. Do I need a project management application? Probably. My favorite ones are Active Collab and Smartsheet for that purpose. Right? I can go on and on. But what I'm going to do is show you how you can use Airtable to build your own resource that will help you keep track of and record all of your research regarding all the different apps that you encounter based on the research that you do, based on the needs that you identify that need to be filled. And you want to keep this. You want it to be living and breathing because your business is living and breathing. And over time, as things evolve, you'll have new needs, which will mean new apps. And what I've begun to learn really over the most recent years on this is that I like having an arsenal of tools at my disposal because, yes, a lot of these apps do the same things and have a ton of overlap, but it's understanding those little nuances of how these apps work that will help you determine when one app is better for a particular job versus another. Case in point, Airtable. I had somebody come to me recently, having seen my videos on Smartsheet, and suggesting that he thought Smartsheet would be the solution that he was looking for, or the tool to use to build the solution he was looking for. But the more he described what he needed, the more I thought about it and realized, yes, there's a lot of crossover between Smartsheet and Airtable, but for this particular use case, Airtable is going to lend itself better to doing what he needs to get done. So let's take a look at how to use Airtable to track your app ecosystem. When you log into Airtable, this is essentially what you'll see. You'll have your workspaces, and you just click here where it says add a base to start a new database. You can start with a template, import a spreadsheet, or start from scratch. So we're going to start from scratch, and we're going to call this use Airtable to track your app ecosystem. Right, I'm not going to waste your time with this. You can pick pretty colors and symbols to identify the base. And then once you've created it, you click in and you have pretty much a blank template to work off of, right? So the first table is going to be the apps, right? And you might even want to start out by simply listing the apps as they come to mind, like just right off the top of your head. Say, okay, we've got QuickBooks Online, because I know that's what I'm using for the accounting, right? I've got Active Collab for project management. I've got Nimble for my CRM, and so on. This first column in Airtable is the primary column, so you're a little bit limited because it has to be unique in certain respects. So you don't have all the choices with respect to the kind of data or the format in which you can store that data in this first column. Everything else, you have the full use of every column format output that Airtable offers, and it's quite a bit. So what we want to do is start listing the apps, and then I'm going to save you the trouble because I actually spent the time in another database building exactly what I'm going to show you how to build here. So to spare you the trouble of watching me type stuff, I'm going to do some copying and pasting. But first, let's get the layout done, right? Because the layout here is really important. Let's click our plus sign. We want to keep track of the number of users we need, right, for any particular app, and then we have a type that's based on numbers, and then we can format. In this case, I can only have a whole person, right? So we're going to do it based on integers, and we don't need to allow negative numbers for this, right? Let's click and drag that one over. So it's the second one. Next, we need the app genre, or the app type, if you will. Now, the way we're going to do that is we're going to create a separate table to track that. And you'll see why as this comes together. So let's create an empty table, and we're going to call this app genres. Okay, and now for this table, what we'll want to do is start listing. First of all, let's double click this, and we're going to call this the app name, right? No, we want the genre actually over here, sorry. So we'll have accounting, bill pay, cash flow management. Okay. Then we need, and this is where you'll start to see how powerful Airtable gets. So now we want the actual apps in here. Actually, we're going to do this the other way around. Let's go to the apps. And now we want to create a new column. I'm just going to right click here and choose insert left so it goes right next to the users. And here we want what's going to be called the app genre. And for the type, we're going to choose this, link to another record. This one little component of Airtable right here is what makes Airtable so incredibly powerful. Okay, and so once we choose that we're linking to another field, it wants to know which table to get it from. We're going to do app genres. And here is a choice as far as whether or not you would want to allow linking to multiple records, right? So do I want to put QuickBooks Online under 2 different genres? I did it. I'm going to discourage you from doing this. Let's stick with just using 1 genre per app, and you'll see why later. So now over here for QuickBooks Online, I'll put accounting. I can start typing accounting, and it starts searching within that other table to see what I might want to add, right? If I start over and I just click this plus sign here, it'll just give me the whole list. And again, from up here, I can search. I just noticed I have a typo. Let's go fix that. Bill pay. Right, active collab is going to be project management. So watch this. I don't have project management yet. So when I type it, down here I can click add new record name project management. Makes it really easy to add stuff. Right, Nimble CRM, app genre is going to be CRM. And we'll add that. So you can easily add as you go. And notice it will have created these here. It had these extra blank records. So let's delete those. Just highlight, right click, and delete. Right, and notice here it actually creates the same link on both sides. So as I start assigning things here, what Airtable did was it added a column showing the apps that I'm linking each genre to, right? So if I have another sort of accounting app, right, then that will, both apps will show up under the app genres in this column here. All right, now again, I'm going to spare you the trouble of showing you the data entry for all of this, but I do want to show you all the other columns that I want you to be able to add. So the next thing we're going to need after app genre is let's add in a column again to the left of the notes, and we're going to call this one status. And in the drop down, we're going to choose single select, and we're going to create options, right? So we're going to choose add an option. One is for in use. That means we've chosen to use this app. Another one's going to be not using. Pretty straightforward, right? Another one I like to have is fun toy to play with, which is similar to maybe researching, in case I'm looking at an app and I haven't decided yet whether or not it's something I want to use. Recommending, I like, especially for somebody like me, and I mentioned this in the write-up, you may want to turn this into a stream of revenue for yourself, depending on the nature of what it is that you do for a living, but especially for bookkeepers and accountants who are often recommending apps to their clients, then this is perfect for you, because this might mean I'm not using it myself, but I'm recommending it to my clients. I'm just not using it because I don't have the need, right? And you can go in here and change the colors of any of these to color code them nicely and just make it all the more visual, right? So let's stop with that. Then we're going to add, now I mentioned this also under the same sort of context of somebody who might want to use this as a resource to provide a service to a client. Let's add in another kind of field. We're going to, again, go insert left, and we're going to say affiliate URL. I have affiliate programs with a lot of these apps that I'm going to recommend. We have a field type in Airtable specifically for a URL. So I can create that, and this way, as I'm listing these apps, if I have some kind of an affiliate program like I do for Nimble, I'll just quickly look that up and copy and paste it in here so that you can see exactly what this looks like, right? And of course, we can widen up these columns. You can also click this guy here and change the row heights. It's not like Excel where you can put in a specific number to define the row height, but you have basic settings, short, medium, tall, and extra tall. Again, it's all pretty straightforward. I tend to like things condensed. That's just me, though. All right, so now we've got the affiliate link, and sometimes I don't have an affiliate URL per se, but I have a promo code. So let's do a field for that. That's going to be single line text, promo code. Sometimes it's both, right? So we've got that accounted for. Then we've got our notes already and our attachments, and that's probably about as much as you need. The only other thing you might want to add to this, separate from the affiliate URL, is maybe the URL, the login URL, right, for the app itself. So you could actually duplicate this field, right? And I don't want to duplicate the cells. And then maybe I would put that first and call this login URL. Right? You may not need this. If you're going to, you probably should use a password manager. I wouldn't put like usernames and passwords in here, but something like this could come in handy. I'm going to delete it because I don't actually have that for mine. Usually the way I'm using this is I'm recommending the app to somebody and they want to know if I have an affiliate so I can get credit for sending them. And so I just want a way that I can quickly go and copy and paste that for them. So that covers the basic setup of the app table. Let me go in and I'm actually going to copy and paste some data here. But first, let's do one other table, and let's finish the app genres table, actually, before I go further. Here we really just have the name and the apps. Let's move that here. I don't know what this is. Let's delete it. Right, we don't really need much more than this here. It's just a way of saying, here's the genre, and basically it was just a way of creating a drop-down for this that's linked. I could have done it as a single or multiple select too, but this is much easier to manage this way, right? And it makes it much easier to sort of add a new genre and assign apps to genres and so on. The other thing we're going to want here is, especially since this is going to be a research tool, is to create the pricing plans, right? So let's create an empty table, call this pricing plans. Okay, and then for pricing plans, really what we're going to want is the plan name. You might be tempted for this to be the app, but remember this first field is the critical, the primary field, and so you can't use this to link to the app. So you have to have that in a separate column, and that's a good example of what I'm talking about earlier when I said it's important to understand these little nuances because it's going to help you become, it's going to make it much easier for you to know and understand how to use these apps and use them properly. Let's put it that way. Let's insert a field to the left. This one is going to be the apps, right? Or the app singular. And we're going to link to another record, the apps. And we definitely only want a single record here. We don't want to allow linking to multiple records. You'll see why. This one we're going to actually call plan name, right? And this is going to be simple text. And save. So now what we're going to do, let's see what else we got. Here we want to link to the pricing page specifically, right? So let's do a URL-based field. We want to link to the pricing page from the app's website. Notice I can type in a search to quickly find the type of field that I'm looking for, the type of column, I should say. Let's see what's next. Then we're going to do a little bit of math. So here we want to know number of users included. Remember, we're doing line items for each plan, right? And then we have a field type for a number. And again, can't have a partial person. Don't need negative numbers for this. Now, most of these plans have monthly pricing that it's billed annually, and so it's cheaper that way, right? So we're going to kind of set it up in anticipation of that. So the first thing we want to have here is what we're going to actually call monthly pricing billed annually. So let's insert left. Okay, and then this is going to be for currency. All right, and here we want a dollar with 2 decimal places, currency format, obviously, and save. And now we're going to add in a formula to calculate the annual pricing, right? So here we're going to add insert left, annual cost, I should say. There's going to be a formula. Look how easy they make this to do. So I click in here, and I want to say equals. I can start typing monthly because I want the monthly pricing, right? So that's here, monthly pricing, billed annually, times 12, of course. Go over here to formatting. You have to define the formula first so it knows what kind of formatting options to give you. We don't want integer here, we want currency, right? And save. Okay, then we want annual pricing for monthly billing, or actually we want monthly pricing billed monthly, and then annual pricing for monthly billing. So again, insert left, and this is going to be called the monthly pricing billed monthly. And again, this is currency, and I'll save that. And then next we want annual pricing for the monthly billing. Insert left, annual pricing for monthly billing. And again, this is going to be a formula. And you're going to see where this is going. It's quite cool, actually. So this is going to be the monthly pricing billed monthly. I'll start typing monthly here so it finds it. Monthly pricing billed monthly times 12. Save. And then finally, one more formula here. Oh, I forgot to do the formatting. So just double clicking the column gets you right back into the configuration part of it. Right, let's insert one more left. This is also going to be a formula. This is savings for annual billing. Because I got to tell you, I've looked at a lot of these apps where when I look at the savings on the annual for a particular plan, it's not worth parting with all that money up front just to save, the amount that they're offering you as a savings. So I always like to take a close look at this. So for this, we just need to know what are we saving, because it's always going to cost us more to pay monthly. So we basically need the monthly, or the annual billing, annual pricing for monthly billing minus the annual pricing for, where did it go? The annual pricing for annual billing, right? Annual cost, that's what it is. Save it. And again, formatting, currency. Right, the annual cost, we should be clear, that's why I had trouble finding it in the formulas. Naming counts, it's really important, right? So this should really be annual cost for annual billing. That kind of stuff really matters. It's going to help you a lot in terms of realizing later or figuring out how to get around this kind of stuff. So now we have our 3 basic tables set up. I'm going to show you how you can begin to set up this. And then don't go away, because I have a few more really cool things to show you. I know this is long, but look how much I'm giving you. I could have charged $100 for a webinar and walked through all this in an hour. And I'm going to do that anyway. But I'm not going to charge you $100. I'm going to charge you $47. Okay, so now let's say that we have, so now we have to figure out which app we're going to look at first, right? So let's say we're looking at ShareFile here, right? First of all, I don't have one called ShareFile yet, so we're going to add that one in, right? And then really, really neat trick here. Let's Google ShareFile pricing, okay? And you can get right to their pricing page, okay? We have these plans: personal, team, business, and virtual data room, okay? I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to copy it from my other table that I created when I was sort of practicing for this. So plan name, because I'm about to paste in more than what there's allowed space for, it's just confirming that I want to expand the table to include everything. Here I can certainly copy and paste this stuff. right? And then let's just say that number of users included here is 1. I'm not sure, it might be more than that. And I'm going to copy and paste the monthly pricing, and you can confirm that these are the actual numbers I'm using. Paste those in. So notice, of course, the formula comes in, calculates that, right? Monthly pricing, if I want to build monthly, ShareFile, you have to look. It's in the fine print over here. So it gives you the pricing down here in small print if you want to get billed monthly. So, of course, I took the time already for you, and I prepared that. So you drop this in, and now this is what I was talking about. So now I can see plan by plan. What does it save me? So I saved $48 a year on this. Is it worth it to part with $190? Probably in this case. You know, against $192, I don't mind, you know, parting with that to save $50, right? But I've seen plans where, you know, they wanted you to shell out $1,500 for a year, and then the savings for paying annually based on doing that was only like what would equate to maybe like 2 months worth if you were doing it monthly. It's just, and it's not worth it to part with $1,500 if you're only going to save $100 or something. You know, that's all relative and up to you. So now we get the pricing page. Now be careful, because I did this through a Google search, it puts in all this code to let ShareFile know how I found them, but I don't want that messy code in my link. I just want a clean link to the pricing table. So I go in and delete that, and I Control-C to copy this, hit enter just to make sure the page will actually reload to the right page without all that coding, right? And then of course this is the same no matter which plan it is, it's all the same app, right? So I'm going to actually pause the recording here for a minute. I'm going to fill in these tables with all of my data because I already put together a lot of data on this, so I can show you now what you can do with this information once it's here. And this is where it's, if you think it's cool already, wait till you see what I'm going to show you next. So stay tuned. For you, the video is going to keep playing. It's going to be a second. For me, it's going to be a few minutes. Okay, so off recording, I set up these tables in their entirety. Like I said earlier, you didn't need to see me typing everything all over again. You know how to type stuff into a column or a field or a row. So I filled this in with a whole bunch of apps based on, you know, what I had compiled already. And I added another example into the pricing plans. So now I want to show you what you can do with this information now that it's here. I mean, I think it's fair to say it's already pretty powerful. But, you know, in our accounting applications, for example, it's one thing when you can put data in and get things linked up in a really cool way. It's quite another when you can have some flexibility in terms of how you get data out of it, right? And so that's really key. That's really one of the things that makes Airtable so cool, because watch what I can do now. So now I have a complete set of data with all these apps and all these genres, but let's say I want to break it down by genre. I'm going to click this group option, pick a field to group by, and let's group it by genre, and boom, look at that. In a click, now I have all my accounting apps, all my bill pay apps, right? And then let's say that within that, I want to search it, or sort it rather, by status. And then click apply, right? And the status goes in order here. You can reorder these. So I went in and actually reordered and recolor coded them based on how I did it in my own original table. So you just click and drag one of these if you want to reorder them, right? Now you can also zip these up, but let's say I just want to look at my communications apps. Now I can choose to filter it. Add a filter, communications, where app genre contains. And it already in the background starts filtering it. So I can just leave it at that, or I can just finish typing it, right? And then I can just click away, and here I am looking at just the communications apps. Now, if you like a particular view, let's remove the filter. So let's say I just love this view. I want to make sure I can come back to it. But I also want to be able to go back to the grid view, which doesn't include any groupings, right? So I'll go back to the grid view. Okay, first let's sort this by name. Okay, so now I've got it sorted by name. You see how easy it is, and you can do multi-level sorts, right? I could do another sort within that. But now that I've got it sorted by name, not that that mattered too much, But now what I want to do is I want to click over here, and we're going to say duplicate view. And we're going to call this apps by genre. And what that did is it separated, so now I have a grid view and an apps by genre view. But now I want to actually take the apps by genre view and group it by genre, right? So that's like saving a customized report, basically. So now I can easily switch between these views. I don't have to keep recreating the grouping and then removing it every time I want to go back and see, right? So now we have that saved. Pretty cool stuff. The other thing is going to come into play on the pricing plans, because here you're pretty much naturally going to want to just group it by app. Right, boom. So now I have G Suite and then I have ShareFile. So I can analyze each app by itself. This is likely going to be the one and only where you're going to want to look at your pricing plans. And you can add stuff, right? And if I add something in here and it's a different app, watch what it'll do. So I'll take this out. It already, once I take it out, it says, hey, I don't know where to put this just yet, right? So I click in here and let's say I choose Airtable, right? And then pretty much just click anywhere and it will create the table you need. So, and then I can delete my extra record here. In fact, let's delete this one too, because I don't actually have it set up. But that, my friends, is how you're going to take what you initially laid out, what I did in the first 20 minutes, and then start making it into something really powerful. This is how to use Airtable to track your app ecosystem. Stay tuned on my blog, because coming up, you're going to be using Airtable to track your real estate, use Airtable to track your inventory, and use Airtable to track your accounting or bookkeeping business. I'm not talking about doing project management with Airtable for accounting or bookkeeping. You'll see what I mean. It has more to do with managing the higher level stuff, who's working on which client, and so on and so forth. I guess that is a little bit of overlap into the project management thing. But you'll see, it'll be really cool, I promise. And don't forget that we have, if you're catching this soon enough, an upcoming webinar. Even if you don't catch it soon enough, you'll be able to get the recording of my webinar on using Airtable to track anything. And I'm going to go over all these use cases in the live webinar, which will also be recorded. That, my friends, is how to use Airtable to track your app ecosystem. As always, if you have any questions, concerns, comments, thoughts, feedback, you know what to do. Post your comments below. Even if you just really liked it, post a comment, let me know that you liked it, because that helps me. As always, I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day. I hope you learned something here and had some fun along the way, and I will see you on the web.